Did you ever see a movie called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? I loved that movie. When I was a kid, I think that was my favorite movie. You know, you got all these kids looking for these golden tickets. And of course, Charlie wins one of the golden tickets. 5 kids win a golden ticket, and each of them are allowed to bring one of their family members. They win a lifetime supply of chocolate and a tour of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Charlie decides to bring his Grandpa Joe. And they show up on the morning, the appointed day, to the factory. And one by one, the 5 kids who win the golden ticket meet Mr. Wonka. And they're ushered into the factory. And they have this incredible experience of Willy Wonka's world. As we go through the tour of the factory, one by one, we get rid of the brats. And at the end, there's just Charlie left and Grandpa Joe left and Mr. Wonka. We just come out of the Wonkavision room. I don't know if you remember the Wonkavision room, but it was all white. And we just shrank Mike TV down to about this big. And we put him in his mother's purse and we sent him off with those, the Oompa Loompas. And so now we just got Charlie, we got Grandpa Joe, we got Mr. Wonka left. And all of a sudden, Mr. Wonka's mood changes. He says, I gotta go. I got letters to write and people to meet and phone calls to make. The door's there, show yourself out. Hope you enjoyed the tour of the factory. And Mr. Wonka disappears in behind this enormous office door and the door slams. Charlie looks up at Grandpa Joe and he says, what happened? Grandpa Joe says, I don't know, but I'm gonna find out. And Grandpa Joe goes charging into the office. In the office, everything's in half. Half a desk, half a chair, half a statue, half a mirror, half a clock, half a filing cabinet. Everything's in half. And Mr. Wonka's sitting on half a chair at half a desk writing half a letter with half a pen. Grandpa Joe walks up behind him. He says, Mr. Wonka, what about the chocolate? Wonka doesn't say anything, doesn't turn around, just completely ignores Grandpa Joe. And Grandpa Joe goes and gets right in Mr. Wonka's face. And he says, what about the chocolate? When does Charlie get the chocolate? I mean, he found the golden ticket, he enjoyed the tour of the factory, but when does he get the lifetime supply of chocolate? Mr. Wonka gets really angry. He says, there is no chocolate. Grandpa Joe said, what do you mean there's no chocolate? Mr. Wonka said, you broke the rules. Grandpa Joe said, I didn't see any rules. Mr. Wonka says, wrong. Mr. Wonka gets up from half a chair and half a desk. He walks over to half a filing cabinet, takes out half a photocopy. Now remember earlier in the movie, almost the first thing they did when they entered the factory, Mr. Wonka had all the kids sign a contract. Mr. Wonka takes out half a photocopy of that contract and half a magnifying glass. He begins to read the contract to Grandpa Joe. He says, you stole fizzy lifting drinks from the fizzy lifting drink room. You floated up in the ceiling. Now the ceiling has to be sterilized. You broke the rules. There is no chocolate. Grandpa Joe looks at him in disbelief. He says, you're a crook. You're a thief. You're a swindler. How could you crush a little boy's dreams like this? And he turns to leave. But as he does, he realizes that Charlie has wandered into the edge of the room and that Charlie has witnessed this scene. You can tell by the look on Charlie's face that he's crushed. He's just seen, his hero fall. And Grandpa Joe walks over to Charlie and he takes him by the arm and he begins to walk him out of the room. Now, I don't know if you remember, but earlier in the movie, just after Charlie found the golden ticket, he was running down a dark alley. And who did he meet in the dark alley? That's right, Slugworth. Willy Wonka's arch rival, his main competitor. And Slugworth had offered Charlie more money than he could earn in 100 lifetimes if Charlie would bring him one what? That's right, an everlasting gobstopper. And Mr. Wonka had given each of the kids one everlasting gobstopper during their tour of the factory. So Grandpa Joe takes Charlie by the arm and he continues to walk him out of the office and he says to him, if Slugworth wants an everlasting gobstopper, that's just what we'll give him. And with that, Charlie stops. He just stops walking. Takes Grandpa Joe's hand off his arm. He turns around and walks back into the office. Mr. Wonka, he's sitting back down on half a chair at half a desk, writing half a letter with half a pen. And Charlie walks up behind him. He takes the everlasting gobstopper from his pocket and he says, Mr. Wonka, and he places the everlasting gobstopper on the edge of the desk. Wonka doesn't say anything. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't look up. He doesn't even look at the everlasting gobstopper. He doesn't have to. He just reaches out his hand across the desk and he grasps the everlasting gobstopper and he whispers, "And so shines a good deed in a weary world." Charlie knew what the right thing to do was, right? But so did Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe actually encouraged his grandson to do the wrong thing. And in your life, you'll be amazed the kind of people who'll be encouraging you to do the wrong thing, even though you know what the right thing to do is. Just do the next right thing. God's given you reason. He's given you conscience. Why? Because he wants you to live a full life. He wants you to live life abundantly. He wants you to live with passion and purpose. He wants you to live life to the fullest. He wants you to be able to make great decisions, because great decisions are the foundation of living a great life. And now he sends you the Holy Spirit, gives you the Holy Spirit, fills you with the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit can counsel you and guide you and coach you and mentor you and lead you. Who are you going to listen to in your life? Going to be lots of people calling you to go down the wrong path. Who are you going to listen to in your life? Who are going to be the main counselors in your life? Allow the Holy Spirit to guide you, to coach you, to mentor you, to lead you, to encourage you. Allow the Holy Spirit to influence every decision you make, and you'll live an incredible life. Just do the next right thing.